that's joining us today to join. But while we're waiting, we thought we could start it on a really fun note. Most of us like to travel, but sometimes there's a little bit of hiccups, right, in life. So we want to ask you, if you could travel anywhere internationally, where would you go? So you're going to answer this by going to menti.com and use the code that's on top of the screen. It's going to be 5023771. You get to pick 3 places that you'd want to go internationally. If money wasn't an obstacle or anything like that, we want to hear from you. Show us what you got. And the cool thing about this is that if somebody answers, like if a lot of us answer the same way, you'll see the word get bigger and bigger. So we're trying to see, where would you go if you could travel anywhere internationally? All right, we're already seeing some. We got Jerusalem, Paris, Rome. Nice. Awesome. What else y'all got?
Paris, let's go.
Brazil, Greece.
I had to put Brazil for Carnival, you know.
Yeah, that sounds fun. Oh my God. At my, where I worked last year, we did a virtual carnival from somebody from Brazil that hosted it. It was so cool.
Oh, I'm jealous. I would have been there. I have like a whole attire, because Nicaragua, we have kind of a similar tradition. So, man, I would go all out.
That's amazing.
Someone answered space station. Ooh.
I love that. Great.
A little drive to NASA? No.
Yeah.
You know, it's not international. It's not international, but we'll take it.
Right?
Awesome. They're like, no, we meant like space. That
Listen,
international.
intergalactic, okay?
Mars, hello.
Yeah.
Not just space, but hey. England.
Hey, hello everybody. For those of you just joining us now, welcome to HCC Without Borders. We have amazing guests today that are going to be able to share a lot of information for not only international students, but just everybody that wants to hear about this. But before we start the conversation, we are starting off with a quick icebreaker that says, if you could travel anywhere internationally, where would you go? You already see some answers here, and these answers were submitted through menti.com by going there and putting that code that's on top right here. So we got places like Bora Bora, we got Greece, Paris, England, Japan, Brazil, Rome, Jerusalem. We even got planets. That's how international we're going today. We got Venus, Mars. That's amazing. Great. I see videos and pictures of Japan all the time, and I'm so jealous because I just feel like their technology is so great. Everything is so aesthetic, and I would love to go as well.
Bro, Japan looks awesome, bro.
I know Alaska's still in the States, but I want to go see the Northern Lights. That's like on my bucket list.
Yeah. I'd also want to make sure that I like learn the language first too, because I feel like there's this kind of like thing about just going somewhere and not being able to communicate that I would get really anxious about. So I'd want to make sure that I learn the language.
That's kind of rude. Like you have to make a little bit of effort, you know?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I would just be in there like
just pointing.
Just pointing. Sign language.
Sign language.
Universal.
All right,
I want to go to England, guys. I think that would be so cool. England.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes, I would love that. That'd be an easy one.
I want to go to a little tea party, have a little rock concert after. Okay.
Yes. Lovely. All right, y'all. Well, thank you all so much again for joining us. We're so happy you're here. Once again, this is HCC Without Borders. We're going to learn a lot about our international student life, but also we have 2 amazing guests that are going to even take us to the legalities of what it means to be an international student and the benefits that come with that as well. Thank you all for participating in our icebreaker. I hope and I wish that you all get to visit all these places at some point in your life. And now I'm going to pass it over to Mel, who will kick us off with our timeline for today. Thank you all so much again.
All right, thank you, Alejandro, for that awesome icebreaker. So I just wanted to welcome everybody first. Hello, and happy Thursday. Thank you for joining us today for our event titled HCC Without Borders. on behalf of the entire Northwest SGA team, we are happy and excited to have the chance to be able to organize this event for all of you, right? And if you didn't know, as of today, HCC has one of the highest international student enrollment among all the colleges and universities here in the US. So, and along with that, we also have a fair number of dreamers in our college. And we, as your student government, believe that it is important to put together something that, you know, would be of help to both of these groups, right? And as an international student myself, I know firsthand the struggle of being one, and especially nowadays where the political climate surrounding, you know, issues with regards to immigration, it's always ever changing, right? It's always like next year, you don't know what's coming up, right? So we came up with HCC Without Borders really to be able to update y'all on the recent news and new additions around student visa and the DACA program. And who better, we thought, to talk about these info than our two speakers for today. So with that said, we're gonna get started. And for our first speaker, I'll just add in like a little throwback story first, since it's Thursday after all. So when I met this man, I was sitting down in the auditorium at Central Campus with really like little to no idea about what's going to happen to me here. It was my first time being away for such a long time from my family. And it was during the International Student Orientation in person last year. And after listening to him talk about what is and what it takes to be an international student, I started to feel the assurance that I really needed to move forward and to move on with my college life here in the US. And for someone who was also an F1 student himself, he knows and has experienced the struggle we all face. And in his current position as the Director of International Student Services, he continues to help international students day in and day out through his work. So we have nothing but admiration towards this man. So without further ado, let's all welcome Mr. Nithi. Nithi, thank you again for agreeing to speak with us. And yeah, the floor is yours. I believe you're muted, Nithi.
Mel, my heartfelt thank you for the kind introduction. I know this is a journey I've taken myself, almost going to be 25 years. I came here on a J1. I don't know whether I shared the full story. I was on the deportation list 3 times before I moved to F1. That was my journey when I started here. And since then has been one of the most magical moments, and didn't know that I'll be doing this work in my career. I'll be working and meeting students from around the world. I can only say it's an inspiration for me. When I host the orientation, I see the faces from students from all around the world. What is going to be unfold to me as I journey here in Houston Community College. And that's what is unfolding each day, because you have taken the most important step in your life to make that difference in your life. And that's what you are here at Houston Community College. That is what we want to shape that dream together. It cannot be a one-way street. It's a mutual exchange. And that's been my own journey. I know Leonard and I had a great conversation when he stopped by in my office. And I see y'all as an inspiration, because you are the one who have this dream that you're going to shape the world. Always remember, when you want to shape the world also will shape you, because of the diversity of people surrounds us. And that's how our world is going to be. That's my journey. With that said, I want to walk with my fellow international students. Rather than me talking through a presentation, I'm going to share the screen. I'm going to walk with all our students, especially our F1 student, where we have all that information. I hear this information on the social media, but here you go. I'm going to share my screen. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I'm going to type in hccs.edu. Can you all see where it is? All right.
Yes.
About HCC, I'm going to type in here. Oops, it's not going in the right place. Give me a second. I am international student. Can you all see the website of international students?
Yes.
Great. So here's what I'm going to navigate our journey here together. Here, the first thing, my fellow international student, you have any question about anything related to your F1, please join us on our Zoom lobby. It's no appointment needed. You can connect with us instantly, and there will be a welcome host. He or she will triage your question and send you to your DSO. Here's how it works. At this point, we don't allow any students to meet face-to-face because our virtual lobby works very well. In case it is an emergency, then you connect with your DSO. I will let you know how to connect with your DSO, and then he or she will approve your appointment, and then you can come to our office at 32 Main. Here's the address. So the first thing is connecting with us. This is a very simple, straightforward. You can connect with us anywhere in the world through our Zoom lobby. You don't have to be only in Houston. And that's been, just last year alone, our traffic was close to 17,000 students from around the world coming through our Zoom lobby. So just imagine. The next step is, can you see all the resources that we have for F1 students? I really want you to look at these because these are very straightforward. And this information that is created, not because we want it, you wanted it because based on your transaction with us. First and foremost, COVID resources for international students. I'm going to click on that. And then you can see what F1 students need to know right now. So here I go. The most important thing is keeping you in status. Here's the latest and the most current update for F1 student. I'm going to read this very carefully because it affects two sets of F1 students. So the Student Exchange Visitors Program is the SCVP. That is the governing body for all F1 status in the United States, including Houston Community College. I want to use the word active F1 student. If you're active F1 student currently enrolled in Houston Community College, you can do your studies remotely anywhere in the world or here on campus. Only active F1 students. I want to be very careful with my terminology. Active means students who are currently here studying. So you able to enjoy this benefit. And this benefit only works until spring 2022. All right. And you will see that we will constantly update this information on our website. And then if you have any doubt, I want to humbly appeal to my fellow F1 student. Do not ask your friend. Do not ask your father or your mother or your uncle or anyone. Ask your DSO. DSO is your designated school officer. How will you know who is your DSO? If you got an I-20, the I-20 must be signed by your DSO, and that's whom will be your primary point of contact. You can email her or him anytime to get answers. And those students who are coming for the very, very first time to Houston Community College, I'm talking about first time from abroad, we call them the initial student. Not students coming from another community college or another university, they're considered to be transfer student. They fulfill under the active category. Those who are coming for the very first time from abroad to Houston Community College, you have to have 12 credit hours. One of that class must be face-to-face. So those active students, you can take all the 12 credit hours online, face-to-face, any mode, except for the brand new student who are coming for the very first time for spring semester. You must maintain 9 credits, any mode, 3 credits, either face-to-face or hybrid, because hybrid is considered to be face-to-face. So that is the current practice of SCBP for all F1 students in Houston Community College. All right, now, how do you contact your ISP? I just shared with you the information. All right. Next. So we talked about the current resources for international students. Next, these are all applicable to our current F1 student. What you need to know for all information. I'm going to click on the current students, and then I'm going to walk with you. So look at all the informations that we have. The question I was asked to talk about is F1 employment. So as an F1 student, you are eligible to the following employment. The first one is called curricular practical training. The curricular practical training, not every single program in HCC is qualified for a curricular practical training. It is part of the degree program that you're seeking, and that must be approved by the degree, the associate degree that you're pursuing, and that is a required part of your graduation. Then you're eligible for curricular practical training. The second part, called optional practical training. This is basically for students who say, you know what, I finished my AA in engineering or AA in science. I want to go and gain some experience. I want to make sure that this only applies to F1 student, not any other visa category. So I want to be very careful with my terminology again. F1 students, all right? So we just talked about the CPT. I'm going to go for OPT. And OPT, it's given at different levels of your academic journey. You're eligible for an OPT at associate degree. You're eligible for OPT for a bachelor's degree. You're eligible for OPT for master's degree, and then for doctorate. But once you finish your doctorate and got an OPT, you can't come back to the associate degree and ask for another OPT. You may not be eligible because it's going upwards, not downwards. So I wanted to make sure you understand that. The OPT, the basic requirement is the moment you know this will be the last semester that you're planning to finish your program, there is a steps for you to complete. We, one of the very few institutions, runs a very detailed workshop on the application process of how to complete the OPT. It is a mandatory requirement for every student to participate in the OPT. Even you are not going for the OPT, review the process, and then what is going to go through is you attend the workshop, gain the knowledge, and then you have to complete a couple of documents as part of the I-20 requirement, and then you submit that to the service center in Vermont. So that's the OPT guidance. I don't want to go into details because that's going to be very time consumption. I just want to give you a detailed overview so you know what to do. Usually you'll be start thinking about the OPT towards the beginning of your last semester. That's what is going to happen. So you connect with your DSO, the DSO will walk with you the steps, what needs to be done, and then they'll tell you to attend the workshop. We will never give you the OPT recommendation without you completing the workshop because there are some details involved for you to work through the process. All right. And then the next part, if you have any economic challenges, we don't have that information on this because it's a case by case. So you can see that we have a special student relief. This is the guidance only can be given to us by SCBP. Currently, the following citizens is eligible for this benefit called special student relief, where it allows the students to come to our office, work with the DSO, and complete an application to get this relief so that he or she can work off campus. Another part to this is open to any F1 student. I want to make sure I use this word very carefully. Any F1 student currently maintaining full-time, you have to be finishing at least 9 months or a year, this is the term fall or spring, together 9 months before it's called economic hardship. You may be eligible for economic hardship for the condition that you encountered. For an example, one of the requirements when you come to HCC, you show us the financial document. And that document only talk about your 1 year study, not about 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 1 year. So then you turn around and say, something happened, I couldn't afford to pay the fee. And that's going to be a concern to CVES because you just showed us that you have the financial means. And that's what we only ask for 1 year. So then things do change in life. Look, we are all not immune from any kind of problem, finance, mental health. So if things change in your home country or here at home, here home means here in Houston, you had some other problems. The person who sponsored you had a major medical challenges, had a major health problem. So now you can show even the country is going through a major economic turmoil. If you could show proof to this, and your DSO can work with you, and you can show evidence to this, and then he or she will help you to file for the economic hardship application. So how it works is you submit that to USCIS, that's whom will approve. And once you show the evidence, they will approve the application. And then you'll get a document called EAD, Employment Authorization Card. That's called EAD. It's called Employment Authorization Document that will allow you to work part-time while you are full-time in school. And then in summer or winter, you can work full-time when school is in closed session. So are you with me? That's how the EAD works. So it's basically every F1 student have to meet with his or her DSO and explain, and that's where the DSO will triage and say, you know what? Yes, you may be eligible. We're going to use the word may be eligible because the final approval doesn't come from HCC. It comes from USCIS. So I'm using the word USCIS means United States Citizenship Immigration Services. So that's where the services part of all needs of US immigrant come from USCIS. Everything related to CVES comes from US ICE, Immigration and Custom Enforcement Unit. So I want to be very mindful of telling all these acronyms because they are very important. The CVES is housed under enforcement, and then all the benefit for employment, OPT, comes from CVES, USCIS. So that's the two different agencies that we work very closely helping our F1 student. So when you enter to the country, that's another agency called CBP, Custom Border Patrol. So that's 3 units called Department of Homeland Security. So when you enter through land or air, CBP is the first officer you will meet. So in case of any related to your status is ICE, any related to your services will be USCIS. So that's basically in terms of OPT, CPT, and economic hardship and student relief. Another important thing is for F1 student to be eligible, it's called on-campus employment. All right. Every F1 student can seek on-campus employment. You know, that is something that I've learned through my journey. Not everybody will guarantee an employment on campus because they only can hire as many students they can. There are 2 types of opportunity that I've learned. One through work study that F1 student will not be eligible because that is part of the federal financial aid package. But I know the largest hiring agent in Houston Community College that I know of is Barnes and Noble. They love our F1 student. They hire as many as they can. But I know that we have F1 students. Mel is smiling. I know we have a lot of F1 students across the Houston agencies, like in the admissions office, in student government like Mel and Leo. Who else I can talk about? In the library, in financial aid. So we have in IT services. So we have F1 student. The only thing I want to share with you, you know, you have taken one important thing that you come with you. It's called the self-motivation. That is the F1 student's DNA. If you show that motivation, when one door is closed, you keep being very persistent, you'll be pleasantly surprised how many doors will open from there. That's how I see the on-campus employment, because there are so many agencies, students come and go and students leave. You need to show persistence. Another place you constantly have to watch is called the Career Hub. And that's where you might find some opportunities. And when you get the opportunity, you go through these steps. These steps will tell you what you need for on-campus. Here's the steps, the on-campus employment guidelines and forms. It'll tell you all the steps. So far, my fellow F1 students, I walked with you from where you find all this information. This information is not in my head, not with any students, it's right here on the screen. And all this information is current. It's very current. Nothing here of past information. So that's what I wanted to share with you on that information. So we walked through the on-campus, optional practical training, special student relief. Every time when there is a challenge, the government understands, they provide this benefit. Only the country mentioned are eligible for such services. All right. I don't want to go into more details because I know we have another speaker after me. So I want to make sure she gets all the time needed so that we can collaborate together to ensure you leave here with all the things that you needed as part of your journey. All right. Another thing, look, you can see the amount of information that we have for every F1 student. All right. I was talked about transfer information. Here is the transfer information. All right. For an example, Mel, sorry, and Leonard, I know you've been here almost going to be 2 years or a little bit longer, and time to say, you know what, I'm almost completing my associate degree. Now I'm moving on. I want to move to a university. I want to finish my bachelor's degree, because in the US, to be eligible for employment, you must have a bachelor's degree for a H-1B petition. That's the minimum requirement. But now you want to continue your dream. You say, you know what, hey, I got accepted to Carnegie Mellon. I know we have students in Carnegie Mellon, or Columbia, or U of H, or Rice, whichever you choose to go. Once you have to complete the process with them. We don't issue any more I-20s once you're accepted to another university. Very important for you to know that. We don't complete any I-20 once you're accepted with another university. So they will complete that admission process. You just have to tell your DSO, hey, I got accepted to Carnegie Mellon. Here's the acceptance letter. And then you will have to complete a transfer out form. And then we digitally transfer your I-20 record to them. Once the record is transferred to them, they will print the I-20 with that university. Here will be Carnegie Mellon's information. And then they issue the I-20 to you. And then you follow the admission and academic status with that university. And then you'll finish your bachelor's. And you stay with them, then they'll upgrade your I-20 to the master's program, and you stay with them, then they change the level to a doctorate program. That's basically how the transfer out. Throughout your journey, you only can keep one I-20 in status. You can't keep more than one I-20. You may have 10 or 15 I-20s, but only one I-20 must be current And that's the I-20 where you are there, enroll in that school. The old I-20s that you have, I would strongly encourage you to keep them. You know why? I know this happens to many, many F1 students as they journey their dream here at Houston Community College. They say, you know what? As I said, you came here, you gave up so much of your life, you came here and you want to better your life. So now you're seeking for employment. So then that's where you get your employment through H-1B, and now the company said, hey, man, you are really a very good member of my team. Now I want to apply for permanent residency. And that's where all your history you need to show in your I-485 application. So that's what I would encourage all F1 students as you shape your dream, whatever document related to your status, I encourage you to keep them in safe so that they'll come handy when there is adjustment of status takes place in your journey. So that's basically what I have in terms of the information I was asked to share. I hope I covered everything. I'm going to stay back and cover anything that you need of me or any question that comes up towards the very end. And then we will walk with you, with our F1 students and our SGA leaders to make sure that we will wrap it up in a way that you take home with the valuable information that you need, that is applicable to you so that you can keep your status one. And most importantly, you're able to shape your dream and continue shaping that to where you want to go. Thank you. I'll stop sharing my screen. All right. Hope that was very helpful.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I just want to say thank you so much, Mr. Nitty. That was a really good presentation, a lot of information in there. I do have a couple questions for you. So
Sure.
just be ready to to be prepared to answer them.
I will try.
Okay, let's go ahead. So the first question we have is, what's the process for transferring to a four-year university after OPT?
All right. So there are two steps to it. You don't want to wait till the OPT expire. OPT, that's what I said, you will get an EAD. It looks like a credit card. That's how the EAD looks like. And there is an information on the credit card. You'll have your name, your date of birth, and the beginning date and ending date. Always the OPT will have a beginning date and ending date. You can't mess with that date. It is fixed, 12 months. Right about 3 months before you finish your OPT, please ensure you know what your next steps are. Your next step could be going back to HCC or planning to go to a 4-year institution. If you plan to go to a 4-year institution, you should have started the process a little bit more earlier, about 6 months. Because universities and colleges have to process your admission because you have to meet their admission. And then they said, yeah, looks like Mel, Leonard, Emerson, you are a great student. We want to accept you. And here's the process. And that gives them time. So your OPT will be in status. You don't want to wait till the last minute because OPT have a clicking clock, beginning date and ending date. There is no more extension. That is a fixed 12 months. That's how the OPT works. All right. I'm going to stick with only one term here, OPT, because HCC only qualifies for OPT, not STEM OPT. We are not eligible under STEM. We only qualify for the 1-year OPT. All right. So then you should be able to go to Carnegie Mellon or Rice or U of H or Perryview, A&M or Texas A&M, whichever you plan to go, but don't wait till the last minute. At least give yourself 6 months because there could be any hiccups. Hey, your admission, we are missing this. We want your transcript. That will give you time. So that's the reason why you have to have all that lined up for your admission. Once you admitted, then what will happen is even you have a balanced time when you start, it will be the next available semester. Just say your OPT going to expire in March. All right. Just say you're going to go to Texas A&M. And their next admission could be summer or could be fall. So even if it is summer or fall, you met the requirement of admission, because now you completed everything while you're in your OPT status, not outside the OPT status. So that's the requirement.
Thank you so much for that. You really explained that really well. So we have a question from Yusuf. What if we lose one of our I-20s while moving?
I want to be very careful in saying this and understand the question very carefully. If you lose your I-20, remember, I-20 is a paper document. Everything about you is digital, all right? If you lose your I-20, I just want to make a reference that I remember I'm a male in respect to a female and all our colleagues here. I always put my I-20 those days in my back pocket. So I want to talk about that experience. So, you know, I was so busy running around, and as I came back that weekend, I didn't even know where's my I-20, and I put it into my laundry. What will happen to that I-20? Remember, those days, the I-20 was an important document because now it's all digital. So my I-20 literally got wet and became pieces. So I have to go and see my DSO, and they printed a new I-20. So now with digital I-20, your records are all in CVS SCVP, but the most important thing, if you literally lost it, the first thing you want to do is make a police report, because it's a very important document. You don't want anyone to use it for some other purposes. So lodge a report, campus police, so that will be your document. So in case something happened with that I-20, you have a clear evidence you lost it. Here's the report. Now we are going to print you another I-20 for any wrong purposes of use of the I-20. That's because if you see on the top of the document, it's called Department of Justice. We are the liaison to issue the document, but remember, it is a legal document. You don't want to lose that document. I know we can print another one, but we don't want to print another one knowing that I-20 is with you. Then you claim fraud about the document, because we don't want that to happen. If you lose it, make a police report. Make sure you go and look for every places, including your back pocket. I'm talking, or your handbag, wherever you keep your documents, or your safe. So make sure you look that document before you finally say, yes, I lost it. Meet with your DSO, explain, and they can work with you to print another one. It's basically your record, a digital record will be reprinted on the I-20.
Thank you so much. So now we have room for a question or two. So I'm just going to spring one quickly. Are F1 students allowed to take a second start?
Can you, excuse me, Emerson, can you repeat the question?
Are F1 students allowed to take a second start?
Yes, that's one of the unique admission of HCC. Not every colleges, this is why you see we give that flexibility, but I want to be very cautiously saying that if the student who are on the ESL, ESOL level, you do want to start second start because there is no classes. If you're college ready, yes, I think Mel and Lennon knows that second start is a great benefit, but it could be a little bit intense, but you already have all the skill set. You are a hardworking student. I want to assure almost all F1 students in the United States are hardworking students. You're willing to work hard. And that's the gift that you bring to us. That's the gift that you share with us. That's the gift that you give to your fellow peers in the SGA, in the classroom, in the community, because that's the skill that we all want. Every employer wants reliability, hardworking. So you have it. So yes, they're eligible, but make sure you go on that path. We want to make sure you have all the classes, because the second start, once you drop the classes, you may not have other classes left. So that may affect your status. So it's always good to plan this with your academic advisor. Yes, looks like all these classes, because something will happen. It happens in the past. I'm sure Mel and Leonard can testify if they have experienced. Sometimes the classes get canceled. What happens at that point? Great opportunity. You may end up taking a class, may not be applicable to your program, because now we have to stitch that as part of your F1 status. We always wanted to join and be on the pathway, but sometimes you have to go out of the pathway to make sure you have additional class that might not be applicable because you took the second start. I'm sharing with you the pros and cons for second start. It's a great benefit to our F1 student, also comes with some hiccups in case something happens.
Great, thank you so much. So we have another question here from Armin. Are F1 students automatically eligible and allowed to work part-time off campus after the first year?
Let me try to understand the question. You are not eligible to work part-time off campus. You have to get approval. It's very important. For working off campus, I'm sure our lawyer will assure that any F1 student who wants to work off campus cannot happen by itself. You have to go through a USCIS approval. Only on-campus employment that we approve, but once you're eligible, you have to qualify yourself to get an SS number based on the hiring letter and the letter provided by the DSO for you to go and apply for Social Security. I know sometime in 2003, that's where Social Security Administration said no F1 student are eligible for Social Security automatically because of their F1. They're only eligible for F1 for Social Security if they get employment, whether through on campus or through OPT or through CPT if you're eligible, and or through economic hardship, because there is a process you have to fulfill to get the Social Security number. When I came in, almost going to be 25, 26 years ago, I just walk in, I got my I-20, I show them here, I get my SS number. That days are gone. I remember those days, my I-20s, you can use the whiteout and you type on it. Now you can't do any of that. All that a digital process. If you do anything, it's a legal document. I'll let our lawyer talk about that aspect because it's very important. You don't want to mess with the legal document. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, this might be our last question here from Jay. What if my green card gets ripped and I cannot afford to replace it? What are my options?
Your green card. That's if your green card got messed, remember again, USCIS do have all that information. You have to file first. Again, you have to file a loss to the police. You have to show that something happened, got ripped. That's your evidence because you're claiming something legal. You have to show evidence. So that's what happened. Then you go through USCIS and complete saying that my card got ripped and here's the evidence. And then you have to pay the fee and then they will send you another card if you fulfill all the process correctly.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So a report and then go to USCIS, right?
Yes, there is an application process saying that loss card got messed up. There is if you go to USCIS, there is a steps for you to fulfill. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Nikki, I have a question for you. Is
Sure, ma'am.
a practical that I come across. So for OPT, applying for OPT, you know, it used to take 3 months to get a work permit. That's why they gave 3 months before the expiration or your F1 to apply for the OPT EAD. So is it possible for a student to come to you 6 months prior the program ends to get the I-20 so they can start applying for the EAD, because the EAD card takes around 6 months now to get approved, and that way they're not gonna lose the time waiting.
No, they will not lose the time. So what happens is called pre and post. So 3 months before the semester ends, they get 90 days. And then they have 60 days after they complete the F1. So they have total 5 months. So
Okay.
just say that I want to complete my program. I'll walk with you a scenario, Ms. Gasana. Hope I said your name correctly.
Gasana.
So Gasana?
Yes, if you call me Claudine, it's fine.
Thank you, Ms. Claudine. So what happens is, like for an example, you want to graduate in December. So just say December 15 is where you end your program, all right? Your I-20 will be shortened. So just say you applied for your OPT in September. And they will say that we can't put in within September to December because you're still in the program. So you'll just put January 1st. All right. And some students will choose until February 15. That's the last day that you're allowed to put on your OPT because you finish your program on December 15. So you got 60 days to extend. And then it gives more than enough time for USCIS to process it. I don't think USCIS allow us to issue an I-20 for OPT before 90 days of the program. That will be a no practice from USCIS. In case they had taken longer, USCIS made that changes and they will bridge the gap accordingly. I just went through a case just very recently, as recent as 2 days. Today is Thursday, yeah, Tuesday. This student I-20, she submitted the OPT application without the I-20. So what happens in that situation? They don't know how to process the I-20, and it's very unfortunate the student didn't get an RFP. They denied the I-20, but yeah, he was denied because the I-20 was not there to be the eligible criteria for the OPT. So she came back and said, okay. So then she appealed the process. I don't want to use the plea because it doesn't work in US. It's appealed the process. I-20 was issued. Then she wrote a clear explanation what happened, what transpired. They just issued the I-20, the EAD just 2 days ago.
That's good.
So again, it all depends on the adjudicating officer. That's what been my experience. It seems like all possibility, but the rules say this, but sometimes they make exception to the rule. I've seen that happen. And some within the rule, they don't even follow. That happened too. So again, I want to be optimistic because my journey has been that way. I want to share that same journey. And I'm sure, Claudine, you feel the same way as a lawyer. You want to make sure that we are there to be your advocate. Because I tell this, I'm not sure Mel will remember this or Leonard. I don't work for the immigration. I'm not the federal agent. I work for Houston Community College. You come and tell me anything, hey, I'm going to get married. Lovely, do it. That's your dream. You fall in love. Great. I tell them, make sure it is legal. That's all we want. Follow the law. Wherever you are in this world, follow the law. You're set to go. You fall in love? Absolutely. The law said, go for it and get it. Nobody is going to deny that benefit to you. That's how my advocacy is. Oh, getting married is wrong. No. You can't say falling in love is wrong. Then something wrong with all of us then. And then someone said, hey, man, you're an excellent candidate. You might say, I've seen this happen. The O status means it's called outstanding category. I know some of my friends qualified for that because they did something excellent. So remember, the road is not one way, but I know the road is broad for you because you bring one DNA here as an F1, the self-motivation. If you keep going with that, look, I know the last update I got on Microsoft from University of Minnesota, they have 459,000 F1 students they are working with for H1B. That's only one company looking at an F1 population. Think about Google. Think about Chevron. Think about ExxonMobil. All these people want talent. The talent doesn't come easy because you create that opportunity for yourself. This is what you choose to come here. And we want to open the door as wide as possible. Did I cover the question, Claudine, for you?
Yes, thank you. I just
Thank you,
wanted
ma'am.
to let them know because I get those questions a lot.
Yeah, that's the OPT. It's a time frame, but I've seen OPT get approved in 2 weeks, 2 months, 6 months. I know in the past administration have taken years. So now it's getting better and better. So again, things can go chaos anytime too. So because right now, most of the offices are back to where their headquarters, where their services, because sometimes they get pulled to other services. and that's where I get delayed. But that's been the pattern of the past. Hopefully the future will get better day by day. Thank you again. Any more question, Emerson, or I'm good?
No, you're good. Thank you so much for answering them all. You've been wonderful. Thank you. It's been a pleasure for having you. Thank you so much. I'm gonna pass this to Leonard. Take it away. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Emerson.
Thank you.
So thank you so much, Mr. Nithi, for the great speech and all the information. I know that everyone here has learned a lot regarding transfer, OPT, CPT, maintaining a status, and etc. And I know that for sure they know exactly what to do now and where to ask. You are the person that you can ask.
No, website,
So
don't
now-
come to me because I want you to have that information 24/7, wherever in the world. Because that's the key.
That's
That's what nobody tells me this. Like they scratch my head, where is it? So that's why I walked with you to the website. Thank you, Leonard.
Thank you. So now I want to give the welcome to our second speaker, immigration law attorney, Claudine Gasana. So she has focused her practice on US law and federal immigration law applicable to families, foreign workers, business, medical investors, consular practice, waivers, deportation, and detention facilities. So with this being said, Claudine will give us last updates in regarding to F1 visa, DACA programs. So Claudine, the floor is all yours. You're welcome.
Okay, thank you all for welcoming me. Thank you, Mel, Leonard, and all the organizers. And thank you, Mr. Nithi. I mean, he actually covered so much, and I'm so glad for HCC that you have that website with all the information, with the Q&As. I really, I welcome all of you and all your friends who are in F1 status to go there and read. Information is power, knowledge is power. And sometimes when you come to us also, we have to go back and read and, because you can retain all the information. Before actually without going into or delays, let me begin my presentation. I did prepare a PowerPoint presentation for you guys. So let me start with that. So let me remove this whole thing. Okay, so you can see the presentation without the picture for me.
Yes.
All right. So the man, when he contacted me, he asked me to provide recent updates to F1 visas and to DACA, to the DACA program. So I will start with the F1, which is, student visa, student status. And the major update I will talk about, which has been a big headache, a big subject for any denials of the F1 status, is the B1, B2 gap extension, which is if you were here, let's say you came to the United States as a visitor or on a B1 or on business status, and you arrived in the US, they usually give you 6 months, and you arrived in the US, you were impressed on how the country is and the opportunities, and you visited colleges like HCC or another university, and you decide that you wanted to change status to F1, international student status. So instead of going back, there's an option to change status while you are here in the US, as long as your B visa is current and your authorized stay. They usually give you 6 months. Where so there is a there's a timeline under which you should not file before. So you have to be here for like 90 days. Otherwise, they will interpret that you came with the intent to change to F1. The intent usually when you come on B2 status is to visit and go back. You shouldn't be intending to immigrate or to change to F status. However, being in the US and you could change your mind in that period of time, like we usually do like 60 to 90 days, you can apply for a change of status. So before July 20th, 2021, in addition to filing for a change of status, you were also supposed to concurrently file for an extension of your B2 status for as long as the F1 status starts. And Mr. Nitti talked about the I-20. So the I-20 is, you guys who have I-20s, they have a start date. And usually to get F1 status, you have to have, you had to maintain status at least 30 days within the time, the start date on your I-20. And with all the applications that go to USCIS, the US Citizenship and Immigration Services, and with COVID, even pre-COVID, all the applications have been taking so long. So when you file a change of status to F1, for example, or even an extension of status, it could be a year before they reply to you. And you understand if you had an I-20 that dated, say, August 15, 2021, and you filed for a change of status to F1, and you have to wait another year, you have to keep changing the I-20. And that's something we ask, when I get potential clients or people who consult with me, that you have to make sure you are in contact with your DSO so they can, keep updated your new I-20, or at least don't terminate your service, which, Nitti discussed before at length. So this requirement was really it's costly because you have to pay for the filing fees, and you have to keep up every 6 months. You have to apply for it. You had to apply for extension of your to bridge the gap until you are approved the F1 status. So this new, as of July 2020, USCIS removed this requirement. So this means that if you are here on a B visa, or or B2, B1 visa, and you file for a change of status, as long as you are in status, meaning the authorized time they gave you has not expired, you can file for a change of status, and USCIS will grant the change of status effective the start date when it's approved. And to maintain status, however, you must refrain from working or doing anything that will violate your status. Like, because somebody who's in a visitor status is not allowed to work. You should not be starting your classes before the F1 is approved. So that's a major change that has helped, because I could not tell you how many motion to reopen or appeal processes are pending because of this gap extension. And I have to tell you that it has not registered with some officers, as Nitti was saying. Like, it depends on the adjudicating officer. Maybe some of them haven't received the memo, because I just got a new client with the denial based on the gap, breaching the gap, which is no longer a requirement. So it's good news for those who are here and who are willing to change, who are wanting to change to F1 status. Okay, so another major update that does not only concern F1 students, but concern all non-immigrant travelers to the US is that effective November 8, 2021, everyone who's seeking, who's an adult and who's seeking entry into the US, let's say you had your F1 visa and you returned home for a break and you have to come back, you will have to show COVID-19 vaccine. So COVID-19 vaccine, there are different types of approved, FDA approved vaccines, including Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, and outside of the US, AstraZeneca, and some other few that are approved that are not prevalent here in the US, but are prevalent in other countries. So there are exceptions to this rule. One of the exceptions will be for countries who have less, has less vaccinated people, like countries who don't yet have access to vaccines. If you have an F1 visa and you come from a country that has not yet to have access to vaccines, you will not be penalized by being required to have a COVID-19 vaccine. Instead, there will be a testing requirement and some type of well, there's no quarantine per se, but they will ask you to sign some certification that you would test before you have to show test, PCR test before you leave your country. And then you will also have once you arrive to the US, you have to sign some documentation saying you will take the test, so you will make sure to, to not spread the COVID if you had it, or, like actually you have to test so you don't spread COVID in case you caught it. So the exceptions, of course, there are the medical exception and the religious exceptions. And in my experience, these exceptions are granted. They are not strict on those, but yes, a general requirement would be COVID-19 vaccine for all non-immigrant travelers to the United States. It has begun on November 8th. Okay, so Niti touched on the special student relief. Countries from this country, nationals from these countries like Haiti, Somalia, Yemen, Syria, Nepal, Venezuela, they have what when he was explaining to the economic hardship requirement to apply for work authorization or employment authorization document. So if you are a national from one of those countries, you are eligible to apply for work authorization off campus because of economic and some type of hardship, because these countries are going through different type of crisis. Okay, so now the other updates that I wanted to provide was with regard to F1 visas. So as we in the last 18 months, everything shut down, including embassies and consulates, and they were not issuing visas. So the Department of State authorized officers to waive interviews for certain applicants who had previously been issued a F1 visa, or who come from the visa waiver program. But those who are under the age of 14, they might have to be who were under the age of 14 when they were issued the first visa or the previous visa, they may need to be fingerprinted, but visas will be waived. So that means if you say you go, because as you may know, when you get an F1 visa, it's in your passport, it's valid for a certain amount of time. If for any reason you need to travel back to your home country and your visa had expired, usually you are required to go again and apply for the F1 visa before you are able to return. So you will still be required to apply. However, the embassy may reply to you, say, okay, please drop your passport, we will stamp your visa without you having to be scheduled for an interview. So that was done, and I think it's still in practice right now until they decide maybe they have reopened 100%, the COVID is no longer an issue. Okay, so those are the major updates for F1 international students. One other thing I wanted to address that I didn't put in my PowerPoint presentation was an issue that Mr. Niti also touched on, the transfer. So I see, he said you had to maintain the I-20, one I-20 active, and you have to make sure you contact like if you wanted to transfer, say you want to transfer from HCC to U of H, you have to have the DSO from HCC be in touch with the DSO from U of H, because sometimes I've had clients come in with like 2 or 3 I-20s and they went apply for a transfer and something went wrong, and then the service got terminated and the system, now they have to apply for a reinstatement of their F1 status. So, and that should not have happened if, those were no HCC students, HCC is one of the best actually college that really helps students in F1 status. But it happens, and then you have to apply for reinstatement and file an I-539 form, and you have to provide all the explanation, and then you have to wait for USCIS to act on your reinstatement application, and you cannot even go to school while that application is pending. So it's very important to keep track on your I-20, to talk to your DSO, to make sure your status, your service status, it is up to date, it is active, and there's no issues on it, because ICE, which is the Immigration Customs Enforcement, they keep track on your service status, and before they act on any of your applications, they will say, okay, your service is no longer valid. You have a different service number, and you have 2 or 3 numbers, and then it's a mess. You have to clean it up before you are able to move forward to transferring to your new university or your college. So now let's go to DACA. So DACA, is I'm assuming you know, is the deferred action for childhood arrivals. So it's a quasi status. It was like maybe a semi quasi status that was given to young children, or those who came at a young age, and we know for their own, and they were brought in by their parents. So it started in the Obama administration, give them the deferred action, or the deferred action means like, okay, you are not a priority for deportation, so you are here now. We give you DACA, we give you this documentation to let you know you are safe, you will not be pursued by the DHS or the Homeland Security, and they were also given a work permit. So far, 800,000 have benefited from that program. However, because it was a deferred action, it was an executive order by a president, the next president could come and just take it away. And that's what happened when the last administration was in power. They attempted to take it away, and it was a subject, and actually has been subject to legal actions, lawsuits, since it was instituted in 2012. So, to long story short, the last administration, actually the legal action went all the way to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court decided you cannot take away the benefits from 800,000 individuals that you have provided to them unless you come up with another program that's going to, to help them. So that was the back when Trump was in office. So now the Biden, when he came back, he said, okay, no, I'm gonna reinstitute DACA, then we can, so yes, when the Supreme Court said, yes, you cannot take away these 800,000 people's benefits. However, they put a stop on the initial application. So meaning those who had DACA could continue benefiting from DACA, applying for work permit, and living their lives. However, new applicants were not allowed. So when the Biden administration took office, then they reinstituted the DACA program, and they welcomed new applications for those, because there were some people who did not apply in the first program. So they were eligible or newly eligible individuals. So, and they say, okay, please apply. So far 60,000 applied. However, a federal judge, like states, including Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi, and some other states, brought another lawsuit in Texas, in Brownsville, and a federal district judge put a hold to these new applications. So these new 60,000 issue applications, they are still in limbo, and there's a stay, which means like the government cannot continue issuing new DACAs. They are asking people to apply. However, they will not issue any new DACA or employment authorization until the legal action is resolved on merits, because right now it's still pending. It's going to the federal circuit, and then it's going to go away again, all the way to the US Supreme Court again. And then whatever decision the Supreme Court makes, it's going to be the law. So current DACA recipients, but however, they can continue renewing and applying for work permit and renewing their DACA status. So what we change now? So basically for DACA to recipients, DACA beneficiaries to be at peace, it will require Congress to act. Like I said, the executive branch, which is the president, has no power to enact or to pass the bill, the law. Congress has to pass the bill. So, it has been going back and forth, and until Congress acts, there won't be really a clear path to citizenship or clear path to a green card or even some type of status for these individuals. However, the Biden administration on September 28th, 2021, they issued a new rule. They published a federal regulation that will announce the intent to codify DACA. So what that's gonna be, and they are codifying or they are writing this new rule in a way that the next administration or following administrations will not be able to stop it. And in the way, without going through all these, all these words, basically they will make it as a deferred action. So the government, the executive branch, the president, the Department of Homeland Security, secretary, they have the power to decide who is a priority for deportation or removal and who is not. So they will frame the DACA rule in that concept, where it's not a status, it's just like, okay, we are not making you a priority for deportation, which means they will remove the employment authorization aspect that usually goes with the DACA application. And those who wish to apply for employment authorization after obtaining the deferred action or the discretional, the discretional hold on the deportation, they can apply for work authorization based on different, because there are other categories under which you can apply for work authorization, including economic hardship or something in those lines. So they think if they frame DACA in that way, the next administration will not attack DACA, and it has been attacked so far. Okay. All right, and that's it. Okay.
Wow, thank you so much, Claudine. You answered, I think, most of our questions and so much information. I want to say too to international students, wow, like resilient, all the steps you have to go through. I had no idea. And so thank you so much for all of that information. We had so many questions on about DACA, and they have been answered. So thank you for that. We did have one more question. Sorry. For you, Claudine. If a student visa holder wants to return to his or her home country for vacation, what extra precautions should be done before the trip?
Yes, that's a very good question. So before you return home to your vacation, you have to go see your DSO for a I-20. They have to sign on your I-20, right? So basically you have to be in good terms of your F1, because you have to maintain your F1 status, meaning you have to have held a full-time study schedule, and and then the DSO has to sign on your I-20. Also, you have to check whether you're gonna need to apply for a visa. Like I said in my presentation, when you obtain an F1 visa in your stamp, it has a validity period. Some, depending on the country, there's this thing called reciprocity schedule. Some individuals obtain like 5-year visa, for example. Some only obtain like maybe 2 years or 1 year, or even less. So and then when you come in the US, you obtain a stamp that says duration of status. Duration of status means that you are allowed to be in the US in F1 status for as long as you are using this visa for the purpose of which it was given to you, meaning you are studying a full-time study or program, right? So that's why it's important to have I-20 that's current, that's showing, yes, you are being you are following your study program and your DSO agrees with you, they will sign for you. So if you need to apply for a visa before you come back, also you have to be prepared that you will be asked to again show that you have you don't intend to immigrate to the United States, so you have family ties, you have some other ties in your home country, and you have financial ability to pay for the remaining program. So, however, like I was explaining right now, but I'm sure they may change that in the spring. If you had a F1 visa, you may not be asked to come back for an interview, but you still have to apply for it for them to say, okay, we are waiving your interview, maybe drop your passport and you need a new visa. So basically, in a short words, you have to maintain your F1 status, you have to be in good terms with your DSO, your service be current, to be correct, no issues with it. And you have to be prepared to show ties in your home country and financial support to pay for, your F1, your studies, like tuition, accommodation, and and everything.
Thank you for that. This was a DACA question, I believe. It says, in terms of renewal, I currently have DACA and it's about to expire. Can I file for a renewal?
Yes. So for DACA DACA recipients who have had DACA from the beginning, yes, you can file for the renewal of your DACA and of your work permit. And it's better to file. Right now, we are advising people to file like 6 months in advance, because I was talking about now it's taking a long time to get the EADs, which is the employment authorization document, to get approved. So better to start early, applying, so that there won't be a gap in your employment. Although when you file for an extension, you receive a notice of action, which is a receipt notice, which says really literally on the very last paragraph that your current work permit is extended for 180 days. And the employer should accept that as a continuation of your employment authorization, even if the renewal is still pending. However, some people have trouble with their employers and they keep them they lay them off until they show new EAD, but it shouldn't be. If that happens, you should contact an attorney so the attorney can reach out to your employer, because they should not terminate you just because you have a pending extension of your employment authorization document, because the document that they issue to you extends your EAD card for at least 6 months.
Wow. Thank you so much, Claudine. If anyone else had any questions, that's all the questions I've had for you, Claudine. You can unmute if you like, and if not, then I can pass it over to Jay to go over our prizes.
Yes, thank you, thank you. Alrighty, y'all. So now, thank you first and foremost to our speakers. I learned so much, and like Eugenia says, the process is insane, and I feel for you, and I'm glad that you all have these resources now, and I know Mel and Leonard are gonna be here for y'all, and if y'all need anything, feel free to reach out to them or to us. We would love to answer any other questions that you have away from the meeting, and of course, like they said, we'll have the recording available. But now let's get to the good stuff that y'all were talking about, the little prizes. Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen very quickly so we can do this wheel decide. So I inputted all of y'all's names while we were kind of having the discussions. Give me 1 second. Can y'all see my screen now? So I have everybody's name. You can? Okay, cool. I have y'all's names here, and then let's do apply wheel changes. Let's do it.
Right. Just to let you know, officers are not included. So yeah.
Yeah. All righty, guys, let's spin this wheel. Click to spin. First winner, Audrey Okafor. Please tell me if I said your name wrong. Correct me. Let's get it right. And please send me your email. I'll write it down right here. You can put it in the chat and we can get your $25 e-gift card to you. Are y'all ready for the second one? Is Audrey even still in here? Audrey, you won. Oh, yes, you did. Yay.
Yes, congrats, Audrey.
Congrats. Please drop your email in here. Your student one. But okay, let me go back to the screen. We're going to do it one more time, okay? Ty Tran, congrats. Please send your email in here. You will also get a $25 e-gift card. Let me stop my share real quick. Ty, are you still in here with us? I don't see them on this. I can look them up on our email. We can send it out. We can look at the registration if y'all would like. But yeah, other than that, congrats. Thank you, Audrey, for just dropping it in the chat for me. I appreciate that. And I will give these to Mel so we can send out the e-gift card. But now that we have our winners, let me just hand it back over to Mel. Thank you.
Right. Well, that's it for our event. Thank you all for coming. Just want to say thank you again to Nithi and Claudine for being such awesome speakers. And I hope y'all learned a lot from today. And now I'm just gonna give it over to Leonard to give his closing remarks. So Leonard.
Thanks, Mel. So I have something to mention. I love this expression when I brought it a couple of days ago. And so the presence of speakers like Mr. Nithi and Claudine in this event definitely have made this a great event. So me and my team want to thank you again for coming and sharing so valuable information with all of us. I know for sure we have learned a lot on this occasion. And definitely we would love to have you both again in our future events. Also, thanks to everyone for coming this morning, afternoon, and being part of this great event. Hope you all enjoy it and see you in our future events. Thank you again and see you next time, everyone.
Before we leave, I want to say to my fellow students, I think we should give them a round of applause to these SGA leaders for their great work, for doing this outreach to you and to the peers across HCC. Great work, SGA. Great work, team members, for doing this work. Thank you.
Thank you, Nithi.
Thank you
Thank
so much.
you.
It was awesome.
Thanks, Nithi.
Thank you.
Thank you, y'all.
Good
Alrighty, y'all
work, everyone.